what anxious people or people on the receiving end of the avoidant treatment need to realize that it's no different for the avoidant, right? That's why he's flip-flopping. Avoidants are also attached. They just don't realize it.
And you need to, as the anxious person or the person dealing with an avoidant, evaluate for yourself, are they worth it? I know there's going to be this journey, this healing process on both sides, right? It's not just all on an avoidant, but am I willing to make that compromise for now, in whichever ways I'm compromising? And is the avoidant partner willing to compromise on their side as well?
Yeah. And some of them are not.
Yeah.
Some of them don't want to compromise.
Yeah. And coming to terms with that takes a lot of courage. And AD, I think, is working through that process.
Yeah. And if he cares, he'll
do something.
Yeah. He'll save it.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't save it, then...
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Attachment Diaries. I'm Gabriel, a former avoidant.
And I'm Carolina, formerly anxiously attached.
And today we're doing something a little different. We asked you guys to send your stories in via email and on YouTube. So we've collected a couple that we'd like to cover, and we'll do as many as we can here. Time is a bit limited.
We'll see how many of you guys we can get back to. Yeah, so let's just get started. Ashley wrote, I got a new boyfriend. Things were going well. He claimed me right away. We had been dating for about 2 months. He invited me to his work event and he accidentally told me he loved me. A couple days later, he broke up with me. He told me that his subconscious did that it means he's in too deep and needs to leave now before he gets hurt and gets too attached. He then listed off differences such as, I'm an optimist and he's a pessimist, or that we have different hobbies. Mine are running and stained glass, and his is video games, and said we were polar opposites and it would never work, that he only wants sameness, that he doesn't want to care about someone. He said he was tired of thinking about me all day long and trying to figure out what to do with me, so he decided to end it. He said I was the best sex of his life, but doesn't really care about sex. And he said that I'm not like any other woman. And he said he was gonna be single for the rest of his life. And he said he's not wired to be able to handle connection. He has been single for 3 years and didn't date at all and just wants to go back to solitude. That he didn't like any of the relationships he's ever been in, and he moved too fast in them and felt trapped. He said he was surprised I didn't block him on Instagram because that's what people do. I haven't talked or reached out to him since we broke up. We are still Instagram friends and I post my stained glass projects on there. It's been a month. I don't think I was anxious with him in the relationship. I never really texted or called him first, and don't really have a timeline of any sort, but I did show him a lot of affection and attraction. So quite the story, right? Quite the sudden 180. What are your thoughts?
I would say we're definitely dealing with an avoidant here and has some fear around intimacy, around getting closer. It does sound a lot like all the differences he's listing are more of an excuse.
Yeah, I think the differences he's listing are super silly. And I find it's common for avoidants to do this, to break up for silliest of reasons. And I think when this happens, the main mistake people do is take this seriously. Because let's just, instead of thinking of it as like a grown-up relationship, if you thought of it as like a high school romance, and then someone breaks up because you like 2 different music bands, like that's what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
So I think it's an indication he's quite immature. But he's also just...
We're looking for excuses.
But he also just got scared.
Yeah. I mean,
and
he
started overthinking.
Confessed his love first.
Yes.
And involved her more in his life.
Yeah.
And then bailed because things get a bit serious.
He freaked himself out.
I often find that it's the case when people have a very particular way of doing things and they are in their routines and this is their life. And when they're introducing a new person in, they can become a bit phased because, oh, I have to change things around now. I have to fit you into my life somehow. So what's our advice to Ashley?
You need to reach out, and you need to just basically play it cool and go along with whatever. Reach out like, hey, how have you been? And then just pretend like you're cool with just being friends, and you're going to be back in a relationship in a week or two. That's basically it. He started overthinking, and he freaked himself out, and now he thinks this is like the right decision because you like stained glass and he likes video games, but this isn't really a valid reason to end things. If you wanted a family and children and he didn't,
Fair
that would
enough.
be a
Yeah.
valid reason to end things. If you were wanting to live on one end of the world and he wanted to live somewhere else, that would be a valid reason to end things.
Yeah.
If one of you was a workaholic and the other one didn't, like wanted to travel the world, that would be like a big difference, right?
Yeah.
But you can do your stained glass projects and he can play video games next to you. That's normal. We have different hobbies. All couples have different hobbies. He just made up silly excuses because he's scared of his feelings for you. And that's why you have to come in and play it cool and pretend like you don't have so many feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would add that you need to pace it so that he doesn't get spooked out. Go nice and slow. Play along.
Slow him, maybe even.
Yeah, if he's doing grand gestures, to definitely rein that in a bit. Like, you might need to pace the relationship.
Mm-hmm. It's not
So,
the end, definitely.
yeah, no, I don't think
He
so
has
either.
feelings.
Yeah. Okay, which brings us to our next story from Birgitt. Hello, Gabriel and Carolina. Thank you. I can share my story. Almost 2.5 years ago, I met my fearful avoidant boyfriend on a dating app. There was rapid progress, we did not chat long, and he proposed to date very soon, which I appreciated very much. Getting to know someone is best in real life. When he first saw me, he smiled and put his arm on my waist. It felt immediately very special. After that first meeting, it went fast. We were sleeping together from the first meeting. I had never met such a warm and attractive man in my life before, and I felt an intense connection because of our shared interests and values. Our meetings in the beginning were spontaneous and short term planned, very normal in the beginning of a relationship. But after half a year, I needed more consistency, and then the problems started. He felt pressured. Eventually, I succeeded to get a fixed meeting day in a week, but he could not always adhere to it. He had periods of stress, and then he withdrew with silence. Because of the lack of contact, I broke up with him several times, but he always came back, and I gave him another chance. Now we are together almost 7 months again. Since then, I discovered he is a fearful avoidant, and I changed my way of communicating, more inviting, more without pressure and emotions. And he's communicating better when he is too stressed or has too many problems to meet. He's trying to still meet once a week. But actually, this is the minimum for me. Mostly he's staying one day, sometimes more if we are on a weekend out, but that is rare. In between our meeting, there is almost no contact, and he cannot plan a next date in advance. He does not want a fixed meeting day and is mostly always last minute when he confirms or cancels. I understand where his fears are coming from, his youth, but also very traumatic experiences later in his life. Now he is still very sensitive around stress. I know he loves me, but he is still not capable to fulfill my needs for more and more predictable meetings. The relationship feels like a situationship, and I really do not know if there is a possibility for more to grow. Do you have any advice? What's your take on Birgit's case?
It's a personal limit that he can't plan his life. And I think she's someone, my take is that she's someone who just is more organized than him. And he's not organized. So it's always like last minute with him. And then she takes it personally, like he's just like this
Right.
towards her, when this is like a personal limit. There are a lot of people who suffer from this problem, the inability to make plans or to hold to their plans.
Or an unwillingness.
Or unwillingness,
right?
yes.
It doesn't necessarily have to be an inability.
Mm.
Like, I do deal with clients where it's just a power game too, where it's their way of feeling in control, where they're like, you might be able to have more control in person when we have conversations or with emotions and have more talk time. But when I withdraw, when we're apart, I'm going to have my own ways of imposing limits, of playing power games, and that will include being difficult to get to meet, and you need to chase me, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's not necessarily always just an inability, it's sometimes also intentional to some extent,
Mm-hmm.
as a means of trying to balance a power equilibrium.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you're saying it's also a power game?
I'm saying it could also be a power
Yeah,
game.
yeah. And I think that's a good point, because what Birgitt said was she learned to come his way. So I think maybe she overdid it in terms of niceness. Right, in our program and in our coaching, we often emphasize that you need a bit of carrot and a stick, that you need a bit of encouragement, a bit of care and support,
Right.
but you also need boundaries and strictness and consequences. And here it might be the case where she figured out one side of the story, the niceness, and that does get him to open up, to stay together. It's, in a way, their case is like a progression from Ashley's case. That's where Ashley's case might go. But then the next step, the next challenge, is to figure out how to influence him, how to get your way.
Make him want to meet more regularly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not an unfair need. And I think it's something that could benefit him and benefit the relationship. It's also about winning his trust, right?
Yeah.
So that he dares to include you more into his life. But getting there is always going to be a bit of a challenge and like a bit of a conflict.
And I find once a week is not much to meet, and the fact that there's no contact in between them is also really difficult. It sounds like he likes to be in a bubble, a bit like with Ashley's case as well. He wants to keep his life segregated and only have these small windows of availability. And I think I'm with you. That needs to be challenged to whatever extent, however, not necessarily forcefully, but just like, hey, what is up? Why once a week? Why do you not like having contact in between? What about texting or anything like that makes it so uncomfortable? Okay, you've mentioned traumatic experiences you've had and a difficult youth. Let's talk through it. Because if Birgit's able to have these conversations with him in a relaxed manner and just over coffee or having a good time together, I think it can help heal that and slowly soothe him and make him understand, oh, being closer and having more contact doesn't have to have all these negative consequences, because he must associate something.
But I think she already did this a bit. Like, she already opened him up and he is nicer. But I think the problem might be that he's unwilling to compromise on any of what he wants. That is my impression.
So more stick then.
Yes, yeah, because I think the stick has been missing entirely. And so he's just like, well, this suits me. I want to prioritize my work. I want to prioritize my life, and I will slot you in where it suits me.
Where it suits me, yeah.
And that's not really fair towards her.
Yeah. So in that case, it would be more pushy, a bit more like, I would need to have some contact in between meetings.
Yeah. Maybe that's a good place to start, with the contact in between.
Yeah. Just give her like a concrete what to text.
Maybe first off, communicate. I'd need us to have contact in between meetings.
Yeah.
And then he will be like, well, I can't do that. I don't want that. It makes me feel pressured. That's what will happen, 100%. And I think there's basically no way to get out of this situation without breaking up.
Initially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Like there has to be conflict to a point where he threatens with leaving.
And he will threaten with leaving. The moment you challenge him, he will threaten with leaving.
And you need to cross that bridge and see if he's willing to come back. And
Mm-hmm.
chances are you'll hear back. He might say, I can't give you that. You have to be like, okay, fair enough. But then
that's it then.
It's not working for me either on these terms, unfortunately, as nice as it is. And give him a week or two.
Yeah.
And chances
or
are,
even a month.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, maybe if they're more extreme. And let him come back.
That's the tricky part.
Yeah.
Sadly, unfortunately, there is no way around it. There is no way to make peace without making a bigger conflict first.
Yeah. It's something we often stress, that you need conflict. When people say they don't have conflict, when they don't fight, it's generally a bad sign. That's just something brewing silently.
Yes. Okay. Let's move on to the next story. This one is a little similar, and I think I need my glasses to be able to read it because the text is small. I'm not gonna read it like this. I've actually done coaching with Gabriel on my situation, and although I currently don't have questions, I'm happy to let them share for their podcast. My situation is a bit different in that I broke up with my avoidant, and then a few months after that cut off our friendship too. I had done this multiple times when I became afraid of being emotionally hurt by a man who would never fully choose me because of his avoidance. It was easier to leave before he could leave me, but he had in essence already behaved like he was half out of the door. I met my avoidant ex right after my young son died by suicide, and I think that's how I was so susceptible to becoming trauma bonded than usual. I've never tolerated this behavior from anyone, but it was hard to ignore him because we were in classes together and he was so persistent with staying in my life despite his reluctance to commit. My son's death was a time of deep despair and darkness, and my ex brought the only glimpses of joy I could feel. I began to associate him with happiness, even though he ended up becoming the source of pain when he would withdraw. I can logically see that my attachment to him has made things worse, just like using any drug to self-regulate complicates our existing troubles. But people are more than drugs. Unlike drugs, we can fall in love with a person, like how Carolina and Gabriel call it an anxious avoidant trap. Being involved with him made me feel trapped, and I desperately want to get out now. I've been coaching with Gabriel to mend things and have made a lot of progress. He has helped me to come further in getting closure one way or another. It's not over yet though. I'll still need some more sessions in the future because this is a process. I'm starting to come to the hard reality that my ex may never want me again. Despite so many signals that there could be an open door, I now haven't heard from him in over a week. He'll likely reach out at some point, but I have to accept it's not in any meaningful way anymore. I'm preparing myself for disappointment by convincing myself we're done, so I don't have false hope. No matter how much I logic my way into that conclusion, my feelings won't allow me to let go. These contradictions keep me stuck, like Schrodinger's cat. Half of me believes deep down he wants to be with me, and the other half realizes he doesn't. Sitting in uncertainty is one of the most addictive and maddening elements of this kind of bond. I feel a mixture of love and resentment towards him, and anger towards myself for allowing all this to happen.
Yeah. It's a very, very sensitive case too, I think. If you're dealing with that kind of loss and then you find someone you connect with and it fills a void of some kind for a while, it's very understandable. I think it's just a super hard case. And I think people find themselves with avoidance often where they're somewhere in that kind of dynamic where it is like the uncertainty. Are they interested? Are they not? Is this going where? Is it not? And it's really difficult because it's often the avoidants themselves that have that uncertainty too. That's where it's stemming from. It's not like this is a conscious treatment towards you where they're going to be interested one day and the next day not. They themselves are on and off. And if you're in a really sensitive situation like this, I think it makes sense to try and wean yourself off that person that is and will flip flop to whatever extent so that you don't have such an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, when a relationship is hurting you more than it's giving you, then you need to get out.
And like for a prolonged period too,
Yes.
right? The duration matters here
Yes.
too. If
Yeah.
it's for a week, maybe a few, and you feel like this is worth it, then fair enough. But if it's taking its toll over months, maybe even years, then it's worth reevaluating whether it's still healthy to pursue.
And it's refreshing to see how AD realizes how addictive this pursuit of an avoidant is. And again, I find this is a case that is a progression from the previous two cases where someone stood up to the avoidant, where they put their foot down, right? And the avoidant just chose to bail, but then came back, but never really improved, never really changed things.
Never really committed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at some point, you do have to make a decision for yourself. Is this good enough for me? And even when you make this decision that, okay, this is not good enough for me, even then it's hard to let go.
Yeah.
And I find what anxious people or people on the receiving end of the avoidant treatment need to realize that it's no different for the avoidant, right? That's why he's flip-flopping. It is no different. Avoidants are also attached. They just don't realize it.
And you need to, as the anxious person or the person dealing with an avoidant, evaluate for yourself, are they worth it? I know there's going to be this journey, this healing process on both sides, right? It's not just all on an avoidant, but am I willing to make that compromise for now, on whichever ways I'm compromising? And is the avoidant partner willing to compromise on their side as well?
Yeah. And some of them are not.
Yeah.
Some of them don't want to compromise.
Yeah. And coming to terms with that takes a lot of courage. And AD, I think, is working through that process.
Yeah. And if he cares, he'll
do something.
He'll do something. Yeah. He'll save it.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't save it, then he's not worth it.
Yeah. Okay, next we have Valerie's story. Our relationship lasted 3 years. We have a son, and the relationship ended because we both were living vulnerable moments and weren't able to be there for each other and support each other because of the same vulnerable moments of our lives we were going through. After that, we had been on and off. Things are harder when kids are in the middle. You can never really say goodbye. I never wanted it to end. I love him. It may be attachment as well, but I do love him. The relationship ended almost 2 years ago, but despite the discussions and the moments of silence, we have maintained the closeness and sharing intimate moments as a family without sexual physical intimacy. He had always wanted to keep my friendship, and I think it's the peace that I brought to his life. I was waiting for him, and I learned about attachment style and his avoidance about a year ago. Since the relationship ended, I've tried to get us back together, not with pressure or expectations, but with love and patience. And despite that, he has been reluctant to getting back with me or commit. At the beginning, we tried to talk, then I just started living each moment and enjoying us as a family without asking or saying anything related to our relationship. Recently, I noticed he was or is dating another person, not sure if it's serious or just for fun. I don't know the details, but that's my limit, and I just ended the friendship with love, not drama. He said that he does have feelings for me, but he doesn't want to commit. I think he never initiated any physical contact because he knows that that would mean commitment to me and our family. What I would really like you to talk about is avoidant relationships with kids. I think no one in the avoidant field talks about it. I've researched a lot. Right now, I don't know if there's a future for us. Honestly, I hope so, but now I'm focusing my energy on me and our son, and that has helped a lot with the feelings that come with what has happened. I'm really grateful I found your channel 2 days ago, and I love what you do. I've always wanted to hear the perspective of an avoidant, and even better, an avoidant's wife. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. God bless you, your family, and your work. That's awfully sweet of Valerie.
Yeah.
So what's your take?
I see this time and time again, and it's very sad that he would choose to just abandon his family and go on dating someone else. I usually find that in situations like this, the person who chooses to leave is taking the other partner for granted. And they leave and come back, and they leave and come back because they think the grass is greener, or it feels easier over there. It's like less effort, right? It's something fresh. There's no like drama. And then they're going to go on and have a new relationship for a bit until things there become difficult, and then they kind of come back.
Yeah.
And that is not a nice thing to do. That is not how you should treat another human being, and it is in like not taking responsibility for their child too, or like he's not seeing what he's doing to his son, right? By acting this way.
And I find that when you have kids in the mix, it really is a whole different level of complication. We don't have children, but we do work with a lot of clients that do. And if things go a bit sour and people break up, the children are, or the child, the thing that suffers and is the thing that bonds, like, I mean, keeps a tie, right? Because you have shared custody or whatever the arrangement is, and you will still see each other. So there is this reoccurring, we meet, what are we, how do we relate to each other? And it really complicates things for sure.
I find that people, in this case, Valerie, or people in this situation often are very hyper fixated on getting the avoidant back. I mean, it doesn't sound like this to me here, but when you kind of only want this one person and no one else, it allows them to just come and go as they please. And it usually is when they feel like there's competition, there's someone else on the horizon, that they will choose to come back
and make more of an effort.
Yeah.
What I also hear in Valerie's story, though, is that for her, it's either or. It's like, if we're physical, that means commitment. And to him, it would be more wishy-washy. It's not necessarily the case that if we were closer together physically, that it couldn't just be for fun or for old time's sake or whatever. And I understand Valerie's hesitation, and she wants to be careful and not lean in too far and get burnt. But there are some limits around that too, I find. When you're strictly saying it's either me, like either you're in or you're out, it leaves less playroom to see what you can manage with your avoidant partner, or avoidant ex in this case. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be like having fewer physical boundaries, but even just flirting, just emotionally, if you are toying with them a bit more and insinuating that you're seeing other people or are seeing other people, and being playful and being a bit silly with them, that can entice them a lot more. That was what will spark that old attraction, the interest again, versus we're either doing this or we're not. And again, I get that that comes from a place of needing to protect yourself, and that is important. But if you're interested in trying to rebuild something with this avoidant person, you need to find a middle ground that works for both of you, where they feel a bit drawn in and you have some playroom together.
It's definitely a hard one to navigate. And yeah, I hear you. It is like you need a bit of flirtation, you need like that chemistry. You can't just be in the getting things done mode or like make up your mind mode.
Yeah.
And I find this is also, though, that problem that women take on more responsibilities, especially when it comes to children. Not always. I've had clients where it was the other way around. I don't want to paint out men as the bad guys here, but predominantly they are. I'm sorry. And then because you're so overloaded with all the responsibilities, because you have to make sure like the lunches are done and the school and the doctor's appointment and the teacher parent conference, right? So you're kind of like, having a kid is a lot of responsibility and a lot of work.
Yeah.
And then there's this person who just comes in and like has dinner with you sometimes when things are easy. And I find my clients who are married to avoidants, they often take on too much instead of delegating. And you need to delegate things to the avoidant. You need to offload some of that responsibility that comes from parenting and just tell them, you do this. You come to the game, to the football game. You pick him up from after school activities.
Right.
Do your part.
Yeah.
Do your job. Because I want to go out. Because I want to have a social life too.
Yeah.
And I find it's in that you can regain a bit of power and also make it clear to the other partner how much work you're actually doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And assuming that's the case for Valerie here, it's also important to think of it as an opportunity to reestablish the rules of engagement with him. Because you can make it clear, not just like, I'm pulling all this load, you have to pull as well, but you're connecting around your child in a different manner. It's not strictly just, hey, we're meeting because we have a kid and we have the shared responsibility now, but you're saying how we relate to each other about our child needs to change as well. And that can also open conversations, discussions for rebuilding trust and intimacy, because whatever the issues were that drove you apart initially will need to be addressed to some extent to try and redefine the relationship, because it can't go back to what it was the old way, right? So I would say when a child is involved, yes, it complicates things, but it is also a glue that keeps you together more than, if you didn't have that. And when people have that shared connection, they have to find together more commonly anyway.
And it also gives room for more risks, right? Because he's not going anywhere. He's going to have to take care of his kid.
Yeah.
So I think Valerie needs to discover she has more power and more say than she thinks
and she can risk a bit more.
Yes.
Yeah. So try push him. Try see if you can find maybe a middle ground between not just saying friendship's off the table or anything is off the table, but play and see how he responds. Think of it as a reset. You're just starting from scratch. You're meeting almost as strangers in a way, and you need to have fun.
And make him babysit and go out.
Yes. And make sure he's taking his responsibilities as a father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go out with your friends.
Yeah.
Get him, see if he's still cool with, you going out and meeting new people, or if he still feels the same way about commitment like he did when you were just sitting at home and taking care of everything.
Yeah. Okay.
We're almost out of light here. We have, I think, time for one last story before the sun sets. Our story as follows. We met in high school and we had a connection then, but we didn't get involved or follow through. Years upon years later is when he messaged out of nowhere, asked me on a date. I was a little nervous just getting away from my child's father and turned him down. He told me all kinds of things he liked about me. We then instead talked every day. He shared his work accomplishment and I shared my life. When then turned to friends with benefits, and it was a good few moments until he started pulling back and gave basic mentions of feelings, and he was getting attached and couldn't do things without being emotionally involved. That he was broken, he'd hurt me, that I was enough, but he has kids. I admitted my feelings and he kept pulling back, but kept making plans and not following through them. It got to a point where he kept using his kids as his way out, saying that they were why we couldn't be together, despite the fact I have a child too. Then it was he couldn't be friends with females. Then he just kept blocking me and unblocking me over and over until he had an issue and had his sister seek me out while blocked to ask me for financial help for him when he wasn't able to get to me because he blocked her. She said I was the first person he thought of and all this stuff. I helped and he unblocked me And we talked for a bit until I kept getting re-blocked again. This time because I said I felt I deserved respect, cared about him a lot, and didn't want to lose him, and etc. And he took it as me asking for a relationship. He said I deserved more, unblocked me. Finally, he talked a little more until he gave up and kept sending emojis, and he needed to be silent. And then went back to his kid's mother for something familiar, though he said that he just did this for the sake of the kids. This happened for over a couple of months. Then I got a message months later asking for more help. And I probably shouldn't have, but I did it anyways. I helped and told him as long as silence doesn't become us. We talked and kept talking for months again, just as before, until he kept dropping I miss you. He was working in DC at the time, and we kept talking until he brought up how I should go out there. I said I could for my birthday. We talked up until then, getting I miss yous over 4 times in 2 months. I get there to DC for my birthday weekend, and we tour the city and pretty much act like a couple. I even meet his brother, who is staying in the room next to ours. We sleep together every day and cuddle, kiss, hold hands. He lays on my lap a lot, gets playful, and he gets protective. All kinds of comfort. I get back home, sadly, and he sends I miss yous and wished I was still there. Sends videos of his sadness and missing me. A day later, I message and just say how I hope things can stay this way. He gave me a great birthday, etc. He came back with excuses of his kids and such are his priority, and he has no time, and etc. I said I didn't want to change anything, was happy with the moments we had. I then got told that the memories didn't exist, that I need to honor them in silence, and then says we aren't simple or low-key in our reconnection, finally admitting it. Then says we cannot stay connected. I was crushed and confused and hurt, and still am. Memories hurt my heart so heavy and so much I want to say, but I know with him being avoidant, anything I say is going to come off as pressure. My anxiety kills me, and I just want to cry and let it out to him. But I can't. He now has told me we had nothing, and that we can't speak until next year around my birthday. He needs silence again. He hasn't blocked me, but won't talk to me, and it hurts so bad. To go through this again, I just don't want to lose him.
Well, I think you're dealing with somebody here that goes beyond avoidant.
Melanie, he's right. You deserve better.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
And this is somebody that I would argue is definitely trying to hide you
From his ex-wife.
from his ex-wife.
Because he's not done with her or something.
Yeah, he's undecided. He's figuring out what's going to happen there, or he's exploring other options.
He's playing you.
And yeah, I mean, it's the whole blocking, unblocking, all these games are
His
just...
sister asking for help.
Yeah,
He's using
it's absurd. You. Yeah.
It's not fair towards you.
No, really not.
And I know you don't want to lose him.
Yeah.
But you'll be better off losing him.
Yeah. Like, this is somebody that is not serious about you and is actively demonstrating that over and over again. And if they cared, they would do significantly more and make changes. But this was a year or more?
It didn't, but it didn't say, but it sounds like it's a long friendship.
Yeah, it sounds...
Because they met in high school.
Right.
So even though the connection must be special,
yeah,
and I have no doubt about it, but he's just not a
he's
good
treating
guy.
you terribly.
Yeah.
Like, this, it's pretty extreme. And when I work with people that are in similar situations, it's often a process of coming to terms with that. It's very unlikely he's going to change his behavior.
He will keep on blocking you.
And he will keep on postponing, canceling, meeting once a year or whatever it might be. And that's not something you can build on to have an actual relationship where you're living together at some point, hopefully. And,
Yeah.
This is not, there's no foundation to build on here. Someone's just using you. And when it suits him.
Yeah. Well, he wants everything on his terms.
Yeah.
So when he's happy to have you, cool. but when he's not happy,
Yeah.
he's gonna block you.
Yeah.
And when you do something that makes him feel pressured, he's going to block you. He has zero care for you. He doesn't care about your feelings. He only cares about his feelings.
Yeah.
It's a one-sided guy.
He's just taking.
Yeah. Some people say avoidants are narcissists, and maybe he is a bit more of a narcissist than avoidant.
Yeah.
And the blocking, I have no doubt he has some feelings, and love is not imagined.
Yeah, exactly.
And the connection is not imagined.
Yeah, the discard, I think, is also just a way of keeping you hooked, quite frankly.
He has some weird trauma from the past, and he's just repeating it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can move on, if you can't let go of the guy, try gradually have more and more boundaries for yourself to protect yourself, and just ease your way out, because it's going to do you more harm than good.
This is not your fault.
Yeah.
This is not something where you're doing something wrong, where you're too much.
Yeah, exactly.
You're very understanding.
Too understanding.
Yes. He's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, guys. Well, those were the stories we have time for today. Thank you so much for sharing them again. We hope that anybody viewing them can also learn something from them, maybe see themselves in similar circumstances.
Let us know what you thought about the stories and what kind of advice would benefit you guys the most.
And if we should do something in the future again sometime, if you find that helpful.
Thank you for watching, and see you in our next episode.
Take care, guys.